In this video, we're going to go through how to use ProAI to create a custom pitch deck for investors or strategic partners or anything that you're looking to pitch, but it's really in this instance focused on deck for investors. Now, the important thing to note about ProAI is that there are a lot of tools out there to create AI based presentations. And if you can think about them, they really follow a few buckets. The first category is ones where you give them a prompt. You'll say, make a presentation about X, and it will generate the entire presentation based off that initial prompt. The second group are co-pilots, like working with ChatGPT or Claude to go through and create slides, slide by slide, or the entire presentation through a conversational approach, which is great if you're a more advanced user. And the third is what we've done, which is we've taken the data of our consulting firm, which has worked with a lot of great companies over the years, and we've taken our structure, which is the way that we structure the presentation, the way that we convey the arguments, and the way that we write, and we've trained the system to replicate that. So we've taken basically the top 10 decks that we've done of companies that have gotten funded, and we've trained the system to write and follow that exact format. So how can we replicate that rather than having it inconsistent output that is likely to be really flexible and versatile for a lot of different use cases. But when it comes to a really specific use case where the quality needs to be exceptional, it doesn't always get there and requires a lot of heavy editing after the generation, whereas this is really designed to get you most of the way there. So first, getting started, it's important to note that whenever you're in ProAI, it's always taking into account your business information. So if you created a business plan, it's using that information. If you went through the onboarding form, it's using that information. And if you don't want it to use that information, then you just change the company and it will use the information on that company. But the point of ProAI is that it's always learning about your business and it's always providing more relevant responses and more relevant suggestions based off your business. So you don't have to click a bunch of forms and use a bunch of fields. It's designed to be minimal and you don't need to repeat yourself. So with that being said, when you get to the deck, you should be able to use the generate with AI to bring you most of the way there. So we're going to say what stage that you're at. And I've already gone through this process actually, but if you click generate ideas, it will use the information from your business plan. I would still recommend reading this, making sure that it's correct, because it's really important that we catch those errors before, because if it generates it correctly most of the time, the way through, then you're not going to have to spend as much time editing it. So it's better that we just make sure that this is correct. As we continue through this, it will ask you, how do you solve this problem? So this is your, how are you solving the problem that you're presenting that your company is solving? And it could be any business, technology company, or even a service business, or even a mature business. They're all solving problems. And how does it work? So this is going through the process of how it works. You don't need to worry about the way that this is formatted, the way that it's explained. As a matter of fact, the more information, the better. And if you already have a deck, the recommendation would be to just copy and paste it in here, or maybe upload your deck to ChatGPT and then ask these questions. How do you describe your product of your existing deck? And it will generate a response to put in here. Or if you just want to copy and paste information from that slide of your deck because we're reworking it, that's great. You can do it in there as well. You don't have to use the generate with ideas. But I would say that if you're not using that, generate it with AI, because the more information we have, the more details, the better. Don't worry about being concise or anything. So for example, this one, I actually copied the information from our website. You see a lot of information in here is not even related to the response. It's just, I just copy and pasted the website pricing page, and it has all the information in there. The AI will sort through what's relevant and what's not. This is asking, why is your company different, better than competitors? Generating it with AI, it actually is determining this. So this is determining it based off its understanding about what your keys to success are that you communicated and the information that you shared with. It's really important that we get this right and we nail this down, because whether you're pitching potential partners, you're pitching investors, really important that we get this accurate. Now, who's the founding team? You already built the bios in your plan if you've already made your business plan. Otherwise, just get the information in. So what I did is I just actually copy and pasted this from my LinkedIn profile. If you have a resume, you can paste all the information in from the resume. More is better. More is better. The more details, the better. Do not worry about overwhelming the system. Let it sort through what is relevant and what is not relevant. What is your go-to-market strategy? If you're not sure, just let the generate with AI do it. If you are sure, then produce it. But it's always a great idea, I think, to make sure that what you're putting in this is what you're intending to do. So if you're generating it with AI, make sure that you intend to do it. Don't just put information in there that you don't intend to follow, because you're going to be misrepresenting yourself. And if somebody asks you questions about it, you're not going to be able to respond. And it's going to ultimately hurt you in the long run, because you're going to be holding yourself and holding the company and holding the team to certain expectations. And if you're not following what you say you are, it's one thing to pivot, it's one thing to change your mind, it's another thing to just put information in there that you don't tend to follow. So in general, when we're working with AI and generating things, you need to make sure, there's a difference between saving time and explaining yourself, and there's a difference between making things up. And it's easier to do when you're projecting things into the future, but you still need to make sure that they are what your expectations are. So you really want to go through that. This section you can also generate with AI. I think that it is useful to generate a template, because if you are raising money with this deck, there is a certain allocation of funding that may be more appropriate, recommended for your stage. So now if you already generated the plan and you have a breakdown, you can edit this. I would still recommend putting in your amount and then letting it generate with AI, so it can just create the template for you. And then the final is the milestones and near-term objectives. I would still recommend using the generate with AI function, because it, number one, creates this template for you, and number two, it may give you some ideas. And there may be ideas where it can trunk in the milestones, or it can break it up in a certain way that is going to be better represents where your strategy is, and it depends on your stage. So the question you answered at the beginning, what stage are you at? Obviously, if you're in your B round or you're selling the company, then your near-term milestones are going to be different than this example, which I think is seed or pre-seed, which is platform development. It's not going to be in there. But make sure that it's the correct response, and just spend a little time on it. I know it's not the best thing in the world to be completing a questionnaire, but it's certainly better than, it's certainly going to get you a better product. And that's ultimately what you want. So if you can spend a lot of good time making sure that this is correct, it's accurate, it's thorough, you're going to be benefiting in the long run. So what happens is, when you fill out those questions, a Google slide is going to generate. Why do we do it in Google Slides? Why don't we have our own slide editing tool? Well, it's because ProAI is really designed to focus on intelligence, enterprise-grade consulting deliverables. And it's not really a design tool, and its collaboration is really focused on the AI. That does not mean that we do not believe of working with the consultant, working with the team. That could not be further from the truth. In fact, it's more important than ever, because you're generating a lot of ideas that other people need to participate in. But when it comes to getting as high quality as we possibly can, we want to elevate the quality. So the question is, I don't need my team anymore. The question is, how can I empower my team to produce things at a faster speed and a higher quality than they would be able to do on their own? How do we raise the bar to get to the enterprise level? How do we create enterprise level decks? How do we create enterprise level research reports at a level we would not have been able to before with our same team? That is the purpose of this tool. So with that being said, we try to leave a lot of the more basic editing stuff and really focus on reliability of our research, the quality of our content, and the intelligence of the strategy. using information trained from our consulting firm? How do we automate and basically clone our consulting firm for a lot of other people and empower consultants to streamline their work by letting it hopefully be up to the same standards of quality? And in the future, as well, Bard is likely to be integrated, which is Gemini, into all of Google's products. So you're going to have a lot of these Copilot tools probably in the future baked into the Google Slides. So if you want to rewrite something, change something, generate an image, all that stuff's going to be done directly in Google Workspace, and it's really a great product. Same with Microsoft Copilot. Likely the same will be in there, as well as Apple. So we think that it's best that people work in those platforms rather than trying to re-engineer the entire experience of creating presentations and ultimately disrupting the software you're already familiar with. So with that being said, this generates a general template, and I've already started to change it, and you can see what the original template looks like. This is not on brand for ProAI. It's not going to be on brand for you. If you don't have a brand yet or you don't have anything, there is a way to really quickly whip that up in GPT and Midjourney and Claude, and there's a really great method. And if you need help with that, we can make another video for you. But at this point, what I want to do is get this presentation on brand for ProAI, and I've already started on it. So what I've done with this slide is I've changed the background to white because that is our one of our brand identities. And I've added a slide, an image in here, and I've removed the template images. So I removed, for instance, this image. We're going to remove it. And this is different for everybody. I put our logo in here, and I've put in this text. Now, how will you put in images? And there's a lot of design tools out there, and they put in generic DALL-E images, which are going to look better. But the problem with DALL-E that right now is that it's very recognizable. And what we don't want is you to send this to somebody and then look at it and say, oh, you used DALL-E. We don't want that. We want them to look at this and say, wow, who's your designer? Or who's your content writer? I want to hire them. That's what we want. It's a different perspective. And to get to that, we have to sometimes compromise efficiency and speed with quality. And right now, the best way to generate images is through Midjourney. I'm going to show you a really cool way to generate on-brand content. So this image is on brand for us. We like these really geometric kind of Juan Moreau style images because they apply to a lot of different things and they represent what we do. We used what we did is we uploaded our slide deck to Claude, and we asked it to create a brand identity with a typeset and a logo and everything. And we came up with this brand identity set. So we have brand guidelines, which gives us the tone, the imagery, the key messaging, and the overview. And that's where you're getting that abstract shape pattern and diverse personalities and modern business environments, because it's a B2B SaaS tool with data focus. And then we also have our emblem. So we actually created this emblem using Claude and Midjourney a long time ago, and I'm sure it's much better now. And it gave us the hex codes, the color codes, and the font type to use. Now, what we do is the problem working with DALL-E and working with Midjourney and other image tools is that every image that it generates is completely different from the next. And I know that they're working on making them more consistent, so all of your content looks on brand from an image perspective. But right now, it's just not the case. And you can look at it and say, well, gee, that was generated by DALL-E, or that was generated by this. And at a minimum, it's inconsistent. And we don't want that. We want it to be on brand and everything is custom. Again, the point with AI, at least with ProAI, is how do we elevate the quality of what we're doing? It's not really an efficiency perspective, but how do we elevate the quality with keeping the costs the same and the time the same? If we can reduce it as well, which we typically do, that's fantastic. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to use the Midjourney plugin, the Midjourney GPT. And there's a lot of them, but the best one is Midjourney MJ Prop Generator V6. And we're going to go in here and I'm going to just take a copy of the slide and I'm going to paste it in. And I've already done it here. So I've copied the slide, the home page. This was what the original page looked like, which is the template. And I said, create an image for this slide to put it in. And then I gave it our brand guidelines. And most importantly, and it says what type of images we use, and it says what type of font and the hex codes of our emblem, which is what we circle our brand around. And it used these prompts, it gave me these Midjourney prompts. Now, if you're not familiar with Midjourney, you're going to need right now, they're creating a web-based version and eventually they'll have it, but right now it requires Discord. I would highly encourage you or anyone interested to learn about it. It does not take time at all. It's very simple to use. There's tutorials online. Getting started, it will take you 5 minutes. I'm assuming you know it right now. And we're going to copy the Midjourney prompt that it gives us, and we're just going to basically paste it in, and just like this. And then we're going to click OK. And as you see, I've already done it for a few of them. And the interesting thing to note about this is that when you give it the brand identity, it's representing our images, which is our minimal infographic style image with abstract shapes. And then it's giving it the color codes to use so that it's on brand with our brand identity, like this. So this is really important because this to you may look silly. You may say, well, I don't know, this looks very stupid. But to me, I look at this, I'm like, wow, this is exactly what I want. This is the header image that we use in our blog post. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use all of these after the video for our blog posts. And if you really specify the hex codes, you specify the details, which are not hard to do, then you're going to be able to generate it pretty easily. Now, if you want to put, at this point in time, if you want to put text in the slide, DALL-E is better if you want to put text in the image, because Midjourney isn't as good as that. It gets back to the point of using different models for different things. But right now, if you want something that looks realistic and you want something that looks unique and ultra high quality, Midjourney is going to do it for you. And using V6 from the generator, whatever the latest version of Midjourney is through this, is going to be useful. In the future, that may change because I'm sure these tools are going to get way easier to use and way more automated. But for the time being, that's the case. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and added these in here, and I've just barely, like, slightly changed things and I moved them around to make them good. And now there's another thing I want to show you when it comes to creating a chart, because what I'd like to do here is create a chart. And what I'm going to do is just go into ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, I'm going to take a copy of the slide, and I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to say, conduct some research and use the research in this slide to collect information. I'm going to actually say use search because right now it's kind of an experimental feature where it's going to collect that information on the internet, and just to make sure it doesn't make it up, conduct some research and use this research in the slide to generate a chart for this slide. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to search the web for sources, and it's going to figure out what the best chart to put here is, because we don't want to just put images, we also want to put charts and graphs. And right now it's doing that research, it's citing its sources as it should. And the important thing to note is that you want to double check these sources. Don't take them for granted, and make sure that you can generate it. Sometimes it does it in 2 goes, so you might need to ask it to generate a chart based off that. And we're just going to put it right in here when it's done. And when you're using the market research report as well, which is generated in a different section of ProAI, you can also use that, because we also have market sizes and other charts and graphs that are going to be relevant for you But for now, I'm just going to put this in just because I want to show you that there's more than one way to generate this stuff. You can use ChatGPT, and the other thing that you might want to put is just cite the sources in this as well, just so you're covering your basis, and you can demonstrate to whomever this is going to that it's verifiable information. So I'm just going to put the source down there. The rest of the stuff you can get it designed, you can get it modified, but we try to keep it rather minimalist because when you're going to be presenting something, it can if you can make it in a complicated way, but it's best to make it to what degree is needed as well. So if you do need a custom design, though, what I would recommend is just going into Fiverr and finding somebody for cheap because the content and the structure is already there. It shouldn't cost you a lot of money, less than $100, I would think, to just go in and get a custom design because what you don't want to do is overly rely on AI tools that will bring you all the way through because people are starting to recognize them. And I know when I see some AI tools and I see that they've been generated, I just kind of think that they're it looks almost like being lazy. Like the person is just taking shortcuts. And again, with Pro AI, the idea is not how do we take a shortcut, but how do we elevate the quality beyond something that we were able to achieve before? How do we bring it up to enterprise level quality with the same amount of work? So you present it to somebody and they don't say, wow, you were very efficient in making that using AI. They say, wow, this is stupendous quality. I'm really surprised that you used an AI tool, which I wouldn't even recommend that you do. So the idea is that this is a bit of a secret weapon, especially if you're a business consultant. But by using other tools, making sure that your content is on brand and generating unique images that no one's ever going to be able to find, producing unique research that's not just copy pasted images in Google, that's how we bring enterprise level quality consulting to SMEs. And that's ultimately how is if you're a business consultant, you're going to be able to deliver that quality more efficiently so you can spend more time with your clients and develop deeper relationships with them.